Hi lovelies, I'm Naomi from Jealous of the Birds and welcome to episode 3 of Jealous of the Bops. If you're new here, this is a little podcast that I do where I just come on here and pick 2 artists, 2 records from each and talk about some songs that I really dig. So in this episode we're going to focus on Sparklehorse, It's a Wonderful Life and Joni Mitchell's The Hissing of Summer Lawns. I have coffee, which is really good. And yeah, let's get into it. Sparklehorse's It's a Wonderful Life came out in 2001. And it's actually the project of a guy called Mark Linkous. Previously, he would do everything himself. He would do the production, he would do all the instrumentation and vocals on his records in this tiny little studio room that he had on a farm in Virginia. And it was only this album, It's a Wonderful Life, where he decided to pull a bunch of different people in and to help him make this record. We got Tom Waits is on this and PJ Harvey. Both have a couple tracks that they feature on. Apparently, because Mark Linkous was such a huge fan of Tom Waits, he had to take like 5 shots of whiskey before he called Tom and was like asking him to collaborate. Which I think is amazing. Tom Waits features on the track Dog Door with those classic growly vocals. And he played piano and some kind of percussion. PJ Harvey, she played some piano guitar and did vocals on the songs Piano Fire and Eye Pennies. So it's really a conscious effort from Mark Linkous to kind of collaborate with other people and have their talents and elements of their expression in this record. In terms of the kind of sonic palette of the record, there's such a contrast. You have really heavy distorted tracks where he'll take like an acoustic guitar and just distort it like crazy, and there's a kind of aggression and grittiness. A lot of the production on this record is quite lo-fi, but deliberately so. And then that'll be completely contrasted with these beautifully melancholic piano ballads, very kind of lush orchestration, mellotron flutes, which bring this kind of childlike, innocent quality to certain songs. And that's one of the things that really interested me about this record in the first place, is that there's such like an antagonism between the more darker, grittier, aggressive elements of the record and the softer, childlike, innocent quality of it. And I just find that contrast thematically so moving to me, because I think that's so much of what Mark Linkous is trying to express on this record, is that so much of it is somebody coming from a very melancholic place, reaching out for any kind of scraps of beauty or innocence or joy that's out there, trying to encourage other people around him to seek that out as well. The 2 tracks that I've picked to share with you guys are really indicative of that. The first one, King of Nails, has that kind of aggressive production and instrumentation. I also just find so many of the lyrics on this record are so vivid, like so exquisitely vivid. He's combining things that shouldn't really go together to create this kind of soup of grit and softness. So I'd really recommend that you pay special attention to the lyrics of this track right here, because they really caught my attention in my first listen, and they still do. So this is King of Nails by Sparklehorse.
The toothless kiss of skeletons and summer hail. I'm the king of nails. I drink my liquor from the palm of a child who spoke in tongues and smelled like sun. Keep all your needs and go sing the breeze to
So The Hissing of Summer Lawns came out in 1975, and it's kind of one of those Joni Mitchell albums that I feel like passed a lot of people by. Like, sometimes people just focus on Blue or Both Sides Now, and they kind of forget about how the breadth of Joni Mitchell's musical palette. Like, on this record, there's so much jazz, like jazz rock, where she's combining that kind of style, the kind of romantic hippie singer-songwriter style that people know Joni Mitchell for, and she's kind of refining it and making it much more complex than just what had gone before. And I really love that. I think it's such a testament to the kind of artist Joni Mitchell is, that she just kind of went with what felt good and with what she was interested in and the kind of instrumentation that she vibed with at the time. There's so many sweet musicians on this record that contributed to it. As far as I know, like James Taylor was on this, Graham Nash was on it. Yeah, everybody was on it. Apparently at the time, it was received to mixed critical acclaim. Like, some critics just find it musically a complete flop. I think they were expecting her to do kind of what she'd done before, and now that she was moving off into this kind of jazz rock and roll direction, people were like, what? And instead, as is typical of people's response to Joni Mitchell, is to talk about the lyrics and how they were basically poems set to music, which I feel is the highest level of praise for any lyricist. But I think it would be doing Joni Mitchell such a disservice to just focus strictly on her lyricism on this record and to not focus on the structure, the musical structure of each song on this. Yeah, I feel like there's a real musical complexity to it and musicianship. It's like she has these narratives lyrically, and she's really just using everything in her power musically to kind of impart that narrative and kind of push it along to the listener. So the first track that I want to share with you guys is In France They Kiss on Main Street, and it's the opener of the record and completely just sets the tone for what's to come. It kind of blew me away when I first heard it, both lyrically and in terms of the instrumentation. I'd never heard that kind of combination of jazz and rock in one song quite like that before. I think she really takes it and makes it her own. This is In France They Kiss on Main Street by Joni Mitchell.
Feel so wild you could break somebody's heart just doing the latest dance craze. Gail and Louise in those push-up brassiers, tight dresses and rhinestone rings, drinking up the band's beers. Y'all was kissing under bridges, kissing in cars, kissing in cafes, and they were walking down Main Street, kisses like bright flags hung on holidays. In France they kiss on Main Street, amour, mama, not cheap display. And we were rolling, rolling, rock and rolling.
The next track, Gold Day, is one of the examples of a track on the record that's that uses a kind of mellotron flute and that has a kind of childlike quality. And especially since in the lyrics, the speaker's kind of imploring to a child to kind of seek out joy, to seek out positivity, and to really make it through quite a dark time, and to preserve some kind of innocence. I just find that incredibly moving to me. Mark Linkous was known to suffer from depression, and there's something just so pure to me about somebody who's experiencing that kind of melancholy, having the intention for another person, especially someone younger than themselves, to really preserve a kind of joy and innocence in life, and that they won't be tainted by struggle or strife, and that they'll, pull through. And there's just something incredibly poignant to me about that. So here is Gold Day by Sparklehorse. The second song by Joni Mitchell that I want to share is The Hissing of Summer Lawns, which is the title track of the record. It's a completely different vibe and tempo to the previous track that I just shared. It's about a woman who is staying in a marriage where she's basically just kind of a trophy piece set up on this house on the hill. The kind of dissatisfaction of women has been expressed in like myriad different forms. But Joni Mitchell manages to do it with a kind of depth of emotion and attention to detail that's just exquisite to me. It really is like a poem set to music. I think you can take a lot of Joni Mitchell songs and you could literally just print them out in a book and read them as you would any book of poetry. I, as a songwriter, really draw so much respect and admiration and inspiration from, to kind of be able to weave these narratives and not only make them, interesting, but believable and emotive. To be able to blend that so skillfully with the music is really just the mark of the truest kind of songwriter there is. So here is the title track of the record, The Hissing of Summer Lawns by Joni Mitchell.